feels like the first note here becomes the most one beat, which is should do the opposite way. So it goes toward that. It's more important because it's the note that's my beat. So, right, so emphasize that a little bit. Let's try that. That's better, that's better. Now, another thing, we can see that these 30 seconds of kind of nasty, right? It's like legato, and then it becomes so blurry. So the trick actually is the movement of your hand. You move it along the directions that you want to play. It will help make your fingers move a little bit earlier, so that you make the sound becomes clearer. So, you see, it's lifting because I move it out of its position. Let's try that slowly to see how you feel that. Right. Good. Now, a last trick for you to make it much more clear is that I believe that you are more like right-handed, right? So many times the left hand got neglected, and in this case, when you play that in a unison like that, left hand turns out the left hand is trying to follow the right hand, but the left hand is weaker, right? So you want to think in different way, opposite. So use the left hand to lead. Then the right hand has to, okay, I have to play a little bit slower for the left hand. So that might work better for you. Okay? Now, let's keep going. Is it possible for me to hear maybe right? It becomes more lyrical, right? At first you play kind of human, right? Now you jump, and then it becomes more lyrical. And to make that, you have to be able to create a legato, which the way Beethoven writes it, puts you in a kind of awkward positions in especially for your right hand, so you have to use a proper fingering, which I think the fingering is good. But what you want to focus more is legato on the top part, the top of the because the top part, the audience can hear it much clearer than the lower part because of the frequency. And so I might use the pedal to help a little bit. So I might use it and like change more frequency, but just to help condense it a little bit. Not just that here. That's one. That part is horrible, and I think this might not be a good fingering for you. You say 1 3, 1 4, 1 5, and then 5 again here. The best, but if you are so stuck with this fingering, you have to feel the slide movement, which is for me is pretty difficult to do. But if you have a bigger hand, you can start with 1 2, 1 3, 1 4, 1 5. That might create a better legato for you. Okay, and let's try a little bit just here again to see if you can do that with a little finger. Right. Oh, your fingers much bigger than mine. I'm sure you can do it. Right. And of course, you move your hands toward the direction of the right. And try not to stay too close into the piano area key will get stuck in between the black key. So you want to, yes, let it stay like that. Good. So that's you solve the legato's problem now. Another part we have is also here. This one is another difficult one. 3 and 5 here. Even for me, it's really difficult. When I try to twist it already too, right? So this is where you have to use more pedal. Okay, so when you use pedal, it doesn't mean that you have to tap it, to give you a beat, or like just hold it all the way to create like, a blurry sound, but you can use just very little. It's subtle. For me, I like to use less than half of the whole bass, Look at here. So it connects even though my fingers, I didn't do any finger legato at all because of that. But if I use too much, then you can hear the blurriness and then the chance to become clear immediately. That disrupts the legato too. So that's why you have to use little, just a little bit to create legato. Let's try that. Right, it's a pedal, but remember, not so much all the way. That's too little. You have to hold the pedal longer to the next beat, let's say like that. Okay. Right, and activate your ears, your hearing, to hear if it's legato or not. Sometimes when you focus too much on the music score, you forget like what it's supposed to sound like. So focus on hearing to check. Right. That's better. Okay. Let's write it here. Then you can use the pedal. But for pedal, even though I write it like that, it doesn't mean that other passages you don't use pedals at all. You have to use it. Otherwise, no matter how you play piano, it's going to sound sorry. You need a pedal, just how you use it. Okay, now let's keep going to this part. Right. As you can see, this time, that's an arpeggio pianissimo, right? But you have to think about, we also have to protect the sound. You play like so like the sound, first of all, if you play that like you're so scared that it's going to be too loud, you might not be able to press all the way to the bottom of the key. And that makes it sound so superficial. And you don't want that. But not just that, you also have to look at the pictures. For example, this might, suppose this is the lowest point, the softest point that Beethoven writes in this piece. So you have to know, like, okay, how am I going to do it like, as softest for my own limitation, right? So it's not like as soft as possible, but as soft as I can. That's different. So if it's like that, I think that maybe that is my piano. So this doesn't have to be too soft in that. And I want you to think it's not just about the volume wise, but more as the character or emotions that connects to that letter. Maybe this becomes thing like I want it to be gentle, right? Make it gentler like that, rather than just concentrating on the volume. Okay, now this part, I said, okay, so we're not going to talk about that. Can you play this? The nasty spot. Very good, very good. So as you can see that this triplet is, I would say it's pretty difficult because it makes you think that I want to play the A major scales, but some notes, you know, you have to omit the B, right? So you have to omit the B, and so that makes us feel that we have been practicing like scales, and we're so used to this, and this just messes our hands up. Okay? So this is why it's difficult, and this is for me. To make it a little bit easy, and in the future for you too, you have done it very well, actually, very good. However, the whole piece is kind of under the tempo right now. It should be faster. Right now, it's like more like you're aiming from moderato, like for allegro, vivace. So when you want to play it faster, this becomes trouble, right? How are we gonna make it faster? The key is not about the dexterity of your finger. Not like that. When you're doing that, you think about the fingers going from lifting and then pressing, lifting, pressing. But you have to think more like lateral motion. So that means you want to move. See, your whole hand keeps moving, not like everything just start here from the fingers. Okay, so just like that. Another trick is that, well, this trick you won't be able to do it every spot here, but it will help lots of them actually, which is the hand redistribution. So if I play this one, and as you can see, you have to do the grouping, right? Maybe another one is right hand. And that becomes easier. Right? Because of the preparations here, you don't have to twist again for another group. You use the right hand instead, and that makes it flow better. Okay? Actually, let's try a little bit. So here, I will use 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the right hand, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just like that. So on the left hand, I like to use this kind of signal. So this, from this onward, this is for right hand. Okay? Let's try that. Slowly. Take this to first. Right, that's good. Now let's work a little bit on the left hand. Remember about it's not about lifting, but the fingers are really there. The timing of lifting and pressing, that is really like makes you slow already. Right? So right, but do not control your elbow. It's just your hands move, shift. I would call it shifting from one position to another position. Something like that. So you can think this is one position, this is another position. Just move it. Something like that. Right. And you can feel that the part that you like to get stuck is when you use the thumb. Because the thumb is short and it's hairy, it makes you feel like, if my wrist is too high, I might not be able to press it all the way, so I have to drop the weight down or move my wrist up down. You have to go against that. That means you must not lift too high. You might be more too neutral, but once you play with your thumb, you must drop it. Just pass through it. Just like that. Right. And you might be concerned about like, hey, is it going to be too soft or something? Actually, if you understand about the way that you can activate it, you can make it louder just by that, because you just imagine the way it's there. It's not from the finger power. Okay? So that is, I would say, distribution. So you have to work out on the fingering and which one works the best for you. Okay? So for me, as you can see in the music score, they like to use 2, 4, 1, 2, 3, 2, 4, 1, 2. This becomes a pattern. It's good. However, the fourth finger is kind of weak. Right? When you play it, especially if you want to use high fingers like that, it's so difficult. So for me, I would try to choose some fingerings that is comfortable and you have enough strength to play. You can do it like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That becomes easy too, right? Just like that. And as you can see, that is note, whistling note. Right? Just like that. Just keep moving. And that should help. Okay? Same as here. Same technique. Okay? Now, as you can see that once you play here, it becomes too soft. Okay? Just piano. Like I said, if you're gonna like play like pianissimo like that, then Beethoven would write this pianissimo too. And also, when you play in this tempo, you will get stuck with some terms that Beethoven writes. For example, suppose you play here and then in this tempo. Gets drag on, right? So that might not work. Therefore, you have to, I don't know, you have to try something with the new tempo. Maybe just at that spot to make a tempo a little bit faster. Because if you don't do that, the way you practice will be without slowing down, and then it becomes just when you perform, it's going to be like that all the time. You want to create by the time you don't have it. So. Now, when you get to here, your tempo changes somehow. It has to be related to the beginning. No matter like which tempo you do, it has to be like that. Suppose you pick So in this case, you can use a metronome to help if you like, or you can also just do what I just showed to you. Find a spot that you are certain is a tempo, especially most of the time will be from the beginning. Compare it to the next passage. Now, I'm not sure why we changed the tempo. Maybe it's because of the technical issue. I'm not sure about that. But let's try it. Let's play here. Some basic technique that can help you that much better. So I call these the rotations for the wrist. So it's like you're doing a seesaw or something. Yeah. By doing that, it becomes strong because if you want to lift it, lift from the wrist. But in this case, you don't even need to lift at all too. The next trick is that, especially at the spots where you change the note, especially at the note on the thumb. For example, that's here from B to C here. From C to B. This one is the worst one for you because the previous part you move it from white key to another white key. But then, when you have to move from the white key area to the black key area, the black key is not as long as the white key, and you have to move your hand position there. Doesn't mean that you have to change the fingering at all, but you have to prepare early. So suppose I play here, I'm not gonna not like at that moment and try to move it toward the piano side, but I might move it earlier, gradually move it, and that will make you be able to prepare it faster. Okay? Let's try that a little bit from about maybe from previous there. Just left hand alone. Right. And then I want you this time look at your hand so you know like where the posture of your hand is supposed to be. That might be too late, right? I think you might feel it. And I believe that you also understand it so that okay, you have to prepare both physically and mentally too in this. Now, when it gets louder and louder, try your best not to use the power of your fingers. Yeah, I know you're a big guy and you're strong. That's good, But in here, the pleasant sound becomes just noise. What I'm trying to say is, I'll show you an example. Suppose I play from here because it's getting louder and it's stronger. If I use just fingers alone, that's so noisy and the sound is really harsh. I don't want that. What you want is, again, you have to be able to feel that the action key drops down a little bit slower. When you use fingers, it becomes really fast. But if you try to control that, most of the time not to use a finger. Same as the right hand when you have to play this for example. That's too down, right? So you can see the way I play is not like really force with my muscle playing that. So that is what you want. You can imagine it's something like, have you ever seen like some other great pianists playing in piano against orchestra? Have you seen it? Like they call it a piano concerto. Have you seen that? Not yet. Okay. So one of my favorite pianists is called Chinese. She's amazing, and she plays lots of concertos. And she some of the music pieces that when you play against orchestra, this is a piano alone, and then you have to go against like 7 people, right? You have to make the sounds like much bigger. But she is a small person, right? With just her muscle alone, she's not going to be able to project the sounds that at least as equal as the orchestra. So she has to use the body weight to help. So like maybe like when she has to play video concert, use the body weight to help, but there is no such thing like you using the tension of your muscle to play because the activations of the key becomes too fast. Okay? So think like those terms as more like use a relaxation instead of tensions of your muscle. And yes, that is like what you need to work on. for this. Let's try that. You want to create the contrast effect here. Stronger. Right. And then immediately soft. Again. Right. And even softer. This time, let's try and use a soft pedal. The left pedal is called soft pedal here. You can change the color of it and also make it even softer. Try it. See if you like it. Right. And maybe because you already use that, you don't have to be so afraid of playing very soft now. So you can voice a little bit too. Okay? And again, all this you have to go toward the note that lands on the beat. Even though, yes, it's a two-note slur that we have to tolerate. The first note you want to emphasize, the second note you release. But in this case, the second note is longer and it also lands on the beat. You should not do that. So it will be like this. Emphasize to the second note. Just a little bit. Yeah. Try that. Yes. See, and I'm pretty sure by doing that you also feel that that's it. Okay, let's see. This is great. Okay, you can say anything about that. Now, a couple of more things here. In this passage, actually big, and thing is like this. Do you know what Beethoven is famous of? Yeah, do you know what he's famous of? Do you know this one? That's Symphony number 5. What about that's Symphony number 9? So basically, like, he is great at symphony, music for orchestra. So in this one, you want the effect of the orchestra, big, thicker texture. But if you do it something like, I don't know, too classical, like Haydn or Mozart music that make everything so clear, it doesn't work well for making the orchestra effect. So this one you can use a lot of pedal. Okay, so. The resonance of that. Okay. Now, last one, another nasty scotch which you have done greatly, which is here. All right, and when you it's very difficult. Okay, and Beethoven is, he's nasty. Okay, to make it a little bit easier. And in the future, we will try to make it a little faster too. Think it like this: the troubling part is on the right hand part. Sorry. That's one, right? Which it covers like a tenth, and my hands cannot reach it too. But you can prepare it. So if you think. That E, sorry, the F here. F to E is just 9. But if you think of the E to G, that's 10, right? So when you play here, just reach it to help you get ready. If you are, that's too late, right? Already, right? Because you cannot prepare it. Right? Once you do this, can prepare for the next one too. Okay, so that that should help. The second thing is that you can also think it like this. Stop. Okay, stop there first and then another group. By doing that, then you train yourself to have that time that you stop as a time for preparation. And of course, once you're so used to that already, then you try to create a continuity. So let's try a little bit from here first. Try to open your hand once you play the note F there, so the thumb can be carefully in there. Right. So you can see that, oh, sometimes when you bounce too high, then your hand becomes out of position. And that is not good for this passage at all. So do you understand now? You know how to work on this one? And your hands big, so you have a lot of limitations. Some people, I have heard some pianists play not having to do the roll at all, because they have a big hand, they just play like, as a block chord instead. If you can do that, that goes great too. And add some, can I hear a little bit? Add this one, please. Right. Just one hand alone is fine. Okay, in this one, I would not recommend you to use 5 fingers there. Use the 4th. When you use the 5 fingers, you have to, most of the time, you want to avoid using the 5 fingers with the thumb on the black key. The reason is because most of the time your hand position is on the white key area. If you start using this or this on the black key, then you have to change your hand position. So this one, I can see that your hand is big enough too. So that if you use the 4 fingers instead, your hand position is still on the white keys area, which is good for you. Okay, you don't have to move back and forth with that. Okay. The rest actually is very similar. Yeah, this recapitulation is very similar. But yeah, well done, well done. Good job. Okay. Next person. Debussy is a type of, before Debussy, other composers, they had a lot about the rhythm, the bar lines to help create the symmetry of the phrase. But for Debussy, he said, no, I don't want that. I want it to be, that the phrase should keep going on and on without the point where you say the bar line. That has to be the end of the phrase. That's why the beginning you even hear, right? That's a rest there. That already helps create like, oh, what's the first thing? Debussy doesn't want you to know that. Or here, you use the time instead of showing where the first beat is. Sure, the left hand can hear it too, but the left hand is just for to, just to sneak in to create the texture, not to really pinpoint that. This is the next bar, this is the next bar, this is the next bar. It's not like that. Okay. So, how are we gonna do that? First, we have to be very free in playing. Just like as what he said here, expressive. Whenever you see the word expressive, you have to be quite free in playing, and you do not want to show so accurately for each note value. Okay? In Debussy, especially in this piece, you want to judge the length of the notes based on the resonance. So let me show it to you what I mean. So in the beginning, as you can see, that's F and F flat. How long do you want to hit? So to be in the air, right? I'm not counting about it. It's about the pacing that I feel. So it doesn't mean that you have to count 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Do you hear the difference now, right? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That becomes like, it doesn't work in this piece. And you can see that he also writes like first triplet or compound, and then change into like 2, right? He doesn't want you to, to be very accurate in that. He just wants maybe linger here a little bit longer. That's what he wants. That's why he was expressive. We want to be really expressive in this. We have to be free from the rhythm. Okay? So that is what we want to do. The next thing is that this is about the technique that you're using. If you use like this, you try to control the playing with how soft I can press it down, right? It becomes really, really difficult to do that. To make it a little bit easier, use the left hand or make it softer already, right? But then that doesn't work well all the time. You also need to do something else too. Because if you still use the same technique, it sounds like this. It's a little bit, what's it called? Clanky. It is still too clear because, like I told about how you play that, it is too clear. And you use the fingers to make it a little bit easier. Think not about pressing, but about lifting instead. Then, because we use a bigger motions, it's easier to control. let's try that a little bit. Okay? So first, use a soft pedal. Just then just press it. This is lifting up. Better. Right. And another thing that's the benefit of using a soft pedal is that because it's going to make soft, too soft, so you can voice it out, and that becomes easier, right? To make it louder is easier than making it softer. So now you can use a little bit of the waves. Do not count. Feels like how you want to hold it. Very good. Now let me show you another thing, another trick. Because when he's talking about free, sometimes it's not really free, right? You have to think of many things, like how I'm going to make it free. Is this passage I want to move? Do I want to push it, or do I want to pull it? It's not really free if you keep thinking about that, right? I like to use the chords to help me decide what to do. For example, here. Okay, sounds right. It's like the beginning, right? From here, it becomes more. I don't know what you feel about that. For me, it feels like a little bit sad. I think that's so. Maybe it gets softer because it's sad. I don't know. It depends on you. Like here. It gives you another kind of emotions too. But what's for me, what I feel the most special is here. It's like you're like a sign, like you're in navigator's panel. Keep moving and then you just stop there. Some both. So use the chords, starting to play as a long chord to select what you feel about this chord. That you can. Last thing about this passage, to make it easier for you too, as you can see in this part. You can see that, okay, I have to voice out the main melody, which is the top note, right? And with the same hand, I have to press the longer notes there, which is part of the texture from the left hand actually. To make it easier, just play everything with the left hand. So we come. Now I can control my melody line easier, right? Because I just have to focus on this melody line. Those high notes becomes easy too. So use some hand distribution there, and that will make the life much easier. Okay. Now, when we get a little bit bigger based on the texture and the chords, the bigger chords, as you can see here, it becomes bigger because in the beginning you can just we focus on the range here. Now here we start to have the range. We want to be able to hear that all the time. And the range here too. right hand part, even though you have to play in octaves now, still play the same way. Just leave it down. I can see that when you play that, it gets better, but you might face a problem that hey, I try to leave it already, but it gets higher and higher, right? So once you play, protect the sound, it drops down now. Because you cannot do anything more after you press each note. Okay? So just drop it down and prepare to lift it up again. Okay? So that's quite similar to this spot. Now, this one, what does it mean? Rubato. Sentence, kind of. It basically means that you are in the same tempo, but you do lots of motion based on that tempo, the first tempo that you use. Okay? So that means there have to be quite fluctuations in the rhythm. You did it, but I think you can do it even more. I'll give you an example. So this is without rubato. That's without rubato. Now, with the rubato, of course, you have to study how you want to push, how you want to pull. If you see the repeated notes, usually you want to hear the pushing motions. Then you see something that maybe the note gets a little bit longer, maybe the note gets a little bit higher. That maybe is the part where you want to pull it back, you want to linger that because those notes and those chords might be more important. For example, the longer note, higher note, you want to stay here a little bit longer. Then start pushing. So you're shaping, you're molding the whole passage. And by doing that, you're not going to count the same idea as the beginning. Let's try here. See if you can do that. Usually it means that he wants us to use a pedal, which we regret. But to make it work, we have to make everything pianissimo too. If you don't do that, you will still show too much. Okay? You can hear the blurriness a lot, and it doesn't work. So that's why we have to play in pianissimo level. But the sound, each note is not too aggressive. They play well. If it's like, you can hear now, especially like that kind of sound. It has too much insistence. You don't want that. So the dynamic is really important in this part to make the long pedal work. Okay? But hey, this is getting better. Another thing that I want you to keep in mind too is that what you do in pushing and pulling, you have to show you a long example with this. It feels like the phrase just ends here, but it's not end here, right? So that's why you also have to be okay. If the phrase ends here, maybe when I want to pull it back, the last note might be the part that you want to pull it the longest. Okay? So keep that in mind. Now, as you can see that when the music progresses, it asks you to crescendo, A, and A, which it means you little by little, you make a louder sound and move a little faster. That's what it means. Which I think you did it a little bit. Okay? Now, when you do that, when you start to do that, the phrase that he writes becomes shorter, becomes like a group. So he's here. But that pushing motion becomes, it disappears because it feels like each group is a stop, You want to create a continuity there. So that means try to push it further and further. So, so think in a bigger phrase now. Sure, you might have different idea. For example, you think, oh, but this phrase is more special to me. You can do that too, okay? But still have to keep going on in a bigger phrase. And after that, you have to feel the joy of hearing those beautiful harmonies. And where does it come from? Just from that low chord. Enjoy it. Each note that you blow, you need to sing out. Don't think like, just go to the top note. Right? It's not that expressive, at least to me. I don't feel that that's that beautiful. And again, this will make you realize the change of the chord and makes it so beautiful. What about here? What kind of tone do you want to play? What about this? What about this one? They're not going to be the same, right? You might think that, okay, this, you might want to show this more because you feel more special. Maybe this one you drop down more. And maybe this one we solve it. That's another way to do it. It's up to you, but you have to think about it, how to make it work, how to make it convincing. Okay? How about let's try here. Remember when you go, listen to all the notes that you do. How's it? Okay, that's good. I know that you're trying to do it, but because you cannot prepare it that way, so it becomes harder for you to control each note when you do the roll. As you can see, when you do the roll, you do this. But what about this this part of your hand, they are out of position, right? So if you play as a block chord, this should be your position, right? Right. So this is your position. Is it possible for you to come out and lift the wrist a little bit higher so you can claw? Yes, yes. That's fine, that's fine. And then you just move a little bit. Right. I know that your hands are a little bit, your fingers are a little bit sharp. That's fine. Okay, now worry about it. Feel each note when you move, there is a little bit weight behind it. Too flat, just equals that. Right. Okay. Same as here. You have to know what chord you're playing. I guess your hands a bit bigger. Drink more milk. Okay. So and when practicing, try to when you hold it. Try not to use a force. This has to be relaxed, be able to move. Right. And another trick is also when you play two hands together, the continuity from the left hand to the right hand. You also have to be able to feel that. Try that. To create a continuity, these last notes of your left hand and the first notes of your right hand, the volume should be about the same, and the pacing of each note should be about same to be steady. Okay, let's try that. Something like that. Okay, and of course when you roll, it should be in just one big group. Try not to separate the notes. Right. Do it slow. Alright, so you can see that you separate the notes by individualize each fingers. You want to do it like the piano. When you play all of them together, you're not separating, right? But when you play, you're doing something like that. So just think of it. You play as a block chord. I heard a note mistakes, so I would like to check this part. You play this part for me because I think you play some notes forget about doing the legato, like because how am I gonna play it, right? So you just remove your left hand out of the right hand straight there. Don't worry, we will use the pedal to help anyway. Okay? Okay. Do you have any questions about this piece? You know what to work on? Yes. Less messy. Messy, right? Yes. Messy because of the control on the 16th note that I was talking about. And I'll show it to you. Why is messy? If I play it like this, you can hear everything equally important, right? The melody, the texture, the bass, they are all like mixing up. That's why they're messy. Another thing that help contribute in making it messy too is the way you use the pedal too. Yeah, you might not be that careful and change it. From here, that's very different. So when you change the pedal, it has to be clear. So clear. You should not have that defect in the F minor chord there. Right? So that's that. To make you understand easier, I would say that when you go back and you practice part separate to understand which note belongs to which part. Give you an example. There's a second part here, which is here, right? There might be another part, but it's just to accompany the melody notes anyway. And then there might be a secondary part, which is here. Yeah, it just comes out just there. Then the texture. And you can hear that the texture actually, the note, the first note of the texture shares the part with the bass. So that's why there are two steps, one's up, one's down. One for the bass. Here it doesn't say, doesn't separate anything, but you should treat it this is the bass. There's a texture, and your aim is to make the texture becomes as soft as possible. Do not let it overpower other parts. It's so easy to overpower because there are more notes compared to other parts. And this might help to make it soft. And then you try to voice other parts up. I have to voice this up. It comes so soft way. You don't have to be doing so much now. Lots of people like to neglect the use of soft pedal, but it creates different kinds of pedal. I don't mean that you have to, whenever you see the word pianissimo, use it. It doesn't mean like that. But it comes in handy times when you will have problem with your technique in terms of controlling it as soft as possible. Try this one. Sometimes you don't even have to press all the way, maybe just half of it also works.